center console and upholstery update. I've repaired all of the individual parts and covered all of the individual parts, so I'm not too far away from assembly. One or two small jobs to do. This is obviously the center pad. Got a new ashtray. I used the original logo that's here, just transferred it over. This has piping on the edging, which is a little tricky to apply. A lot of work related to the back of this. This has the new wood. Actually a lot longer to do than you might give credit for. Not, as I say, not a small piece of work by any means, but this is started to really take some shape, looking quite nice. I also have done some hand trials fitting this onto the main body of the center console. It looks like it's going to be okay. This is the top box foam pad. Reinstall the hinge. This is ready to assemble. This is the actual box, and this is the main tunnel section of the center console. That was actually very straightforward to do. The kit comes with the templates already pre-cut, which made it a little easier. This piece was extremely difficult. In the kit, it comes as one individual piece, and I could not make that work. The original part that came off is this one here, and this looks to me like it's extremely thin, and it looks like it's a vacuum formed part. And obviously I didn't have that option here, so I ended up actually making a template, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to try and set the camera up to show you how I did that. But this took some time. Once it actually made a pattern and got it to work, and then gluing it was quite an interesting experience. Anyway, so I think it's actually turned out quite nice. The downside is I have a seam here and a seam here. And then the gear shifter knob cover, quite happy with basically how all of this has gone. It's taken quite a lot of time to do it. Don't underestimate how long this takes. Okay, as I just mentioned, this part was particularly difficult to wrap. It's got a very complex shape, and to do all of that in one piece, I wasn't able to do it. I'll put it that way. So with the vinyl that was supplied, so what I did was I decided to make it into two pieces. So there's a seam here, and then there's a seam here. And getting all of that seam to line up and get it all stuck in position and wrap it when I was gluing it was quite a challenge. It took me several attempts. So in order to actually make the vinyl fit, I made a pattern. I cut the pattern from trial and fit actually on the part itself. So this is one side. There's obviously a reflection on the other side. And basically what I did was I started with that center line there, and I wrapped the part around and ended up with the center line there. Then you can fold these individual pieces in and obviously fold them around, and you cut the two templates, sewed them along this seam. The actual part that I used had an extended piece to actually provide enough material for the seam, so sewed it there, and sewed it here, and sewed it along this edge. Sewed those two pieces together. That basically made a sock, and then fitted the sock and then smoothed it over. So the hardest part was the contact adhesive doesn't give you much chance, so you're basically trying to lay it onto the part in the right place and then smooth it out. It took me several attempts to do that. End result is I have a fully trimmed part, and at this particular point this looks quite good. So I am actually very happy with that. Okay, here is the fully assembled center console. This is really tricky to put back together and get everything looking just right. So if I'd filmed it and then published it, it would have been like 15 hours. Obviously, if you're not doing it day in, day out, but let's just say this is not necessarily that friendly to put together. That was kind of interesting. Anyway, this is looking really good. So this is that gear shift surround that I had to cover, and I did it on the two individual parts, and I've now added that the trim, which has tidied it up very nicely. I've got the split line. Here, in line with the split line at the back, in line with the split line associated with the cover. So I think that's looking pretty decent. New ashtray, Jaguar symbol I took from the old ashtray. This is actually quite not difficult to fit, but you have to give this a lot more clearance than you think, because you have a double wrap associated with this piece and then this piece, and that can alter the height at which that is sitting relative to the base. And then the trouble with that is that is sitting on the steel and alters the height of this line. I went backwards and forwards with that, and I had to put a lot of extra effort into getting that to see. I didn't make the hole for the ashtray big enough, considering all of the different materials, so it was just tight to get that in and out. One area that I had a problem with is that you can see that this dimension here is a lot bigger than this dimension here. This angle, and then the angle of the top plate, angle of the side plate, and the angle of the top plate are slightly different. And when I had trimmed this particular piece, I took the lead off of the old trim piece, so that had a thickness like this, and I spent a lot of time trimming it to that thickness. And when I actually fitted the whole thing together, I had a pretty nasty gap on one side in particular. So this is how it comes in the kit, and these are totally different sizes. This was the cut one, this is the original one. So I ended up repiping this edge to and using that original dimension, and didn't do any cutting whatsoever. I think looks really tidy. I'm very pleased with it. A little frustrating, it's it's not sort of mechanical, there's a lot of art to it, and the guys who do these at volume at the time, man, I don't know how many people they had trimming in the working in the trim shop to support production, but let's just say if the profits of Jaguar were based on my trimming skills, then they'd have lost a lot of money a year. So, but I'm really pleased. I think this is going to look well with the radio console and the rest of the car. Yeah, looking good. Seats are next.